The 2012 phenomenon was a range of eschatological beliefs that cataclysmic or otherwise transformative events would occur on or around December 21, 2012. This date was regarded as the end date of a 5,126-year-long cycle in the Mesoamerican Long Count calendar, and as such, festivities to commemorate the date took place on December 21, 2012 in the countries that were part of the Maya civilization, Mexico, Guatemala, Honduras, and El Salvador, with main events at Chichén Itzá in Mexico, and Tikal in Guatemala. Various astronomical alignments and numerological formulae were proposed as pertaining to this date. A New Age interpretation held that the date marked the start of a period during which Earth and its inhabitants would undergo a positive physical or spiritual transformation, and that December 21, 2012 would mark the beginning of a new era. Others suggested that the date marked the end of the world or a similar catastrophe. Scenarios suggested for the end of the world included the arrival of the next solar maximum, an interaction between Earth and the black hole at the center of the galaxy, or Earth's collision with a mythical planet called Nibiru. Scholars from various disciplines quickly dismissed predictions of concomitant cataclysmic events as they arose. Professional Mayanist scholars stated that no extant classic Maya accounts forecast impending doom, and that the idea that the long count calendar ends in 2012 misrepresented Maya history and culture, while astronomers rejected the various proposed doomsday scenarios as pseudoscience, easily refuted by elementary astronomical observations. Mesoamerican Long Count calendar. December 2012 marked the conclusion of a BAK-ton a time period in the Mesoamerican Long Count calendar, used in Central America prior to the arrival of Europeans. Although the long count was most likely invented by the Olmec, it has become closely associated with the Maya civilization, whose classic period lasted from 250 to 900 AD. The writing system of the classic Maya has been substantially deciphered, meaning that a corpus of their written and inscribed material has survived from before the European conquest. Unlike the 260-day Tzolk'in still used today among the Maya, the long count was linear rather than cyclical, and kept time roughly in units of 20 days made a uinal, 18 uinals, 360 days, made a ton, 20 tons made a k'aton, and 20 k'atons, 144,000 days or roughly 394 years, made up a BAK-ton. Thus, the Maya date of 8.3.2.10.15 represents 8 BAK-tons, 3 k'atons, 2 tons, 10 uinals, and 15 days. Apocalypse. There is a strong tradition of world ages in Maya literature, but the record has been distorted, leaving several possibilities open to interpretation. According to the Popol Vuh, a compilation of the creation accounts of the Kayak Maya of the colonial era highlands, we are living in the fourth world. The Popol Vuh describes the gods first creating 3 failed worlds, followed by a successful fourth world in which humanity was placed. In the Maya long count, the previous world ended after 13 BAK-tons, or roughly 5,125 years. The long count's zero date was set at a point in the past marking the end of the third world and the beginning of the current one, which corresponds to August 11, 3114 BC in the proleptic Gregorian calendar. This means that the fourth world reached the end of its 13th BAK-ton, or Maya date 13.0.0.0.0 on December 21, 2012. In 1957, Mayanist and astronomer Maud Worcester Macomson wrote that the completion of a great period of 13 BAK-tons would have been of the utmost significance to the Maya. In 1966, Michael D. co-wrote in the Maya that there is a suggestion that Armageddon would overtake the degenerate peoples of the world and all creation on the final day of the 13th. Thus, our present universe be annihilated, when the great cycle of the long count reaches completion. Objections. Coe's interpretation was repeated by other scholars through the early 1990s. In contrast, later researchers said that, while the end of the 13th Baktun would perhaps be a cause for celebration, it did not mark the end of the calendar. There is nothing in the Maya or Aztec or ancient Mesoamerican prophecy to suggest that they prophesied a sudden or major change of any sort in 2012, said Mayanist scholar Mark Van Stone. The notion of a great cycle coming to an end is completely a modern invention. In 1990, Mayanist scholars Linda Skeely and David Friedel argued that the Maya did not conceive this to be the end of creation, as many have suggested. Susan Milbrath, curator of Latin American art and archaeology at the Florida Museum of Natural History, stated that, "We have no record or knowledge that would think the world would come to an end in 2012. Sandra Noble, executive director of the Foundation for the Advancement of Mesoamerican Studies, said, "For the ancient Maya, it was a huge celebration to make it to the end of a whole cycle, and the 2012 phenomenon is a complete fabrication and a chance for a lot of people to cash in. There will be another cycle," said E. Willis Andrews V., director of the Tulane University Middle American Research Institute. "We know the Maya thought there was one before this, and that implies they were comfortable with the idea of another one after this." Commenting on the new calendar found at Sultan, one archaeologist said the ancient Maya predicted the world would continue, that 7,000 years from now, things would be exactly like this. "We keep looking for endings. The Maya were looking for a guarantee that nothing would change. It's an entirely different mindset." Several prominent individuals representing Maya of Guatemala decried the suggestion that the world would end with the 13th Baktun. Ricardo Cajas, president of the Colectivo de Organizaciones Indígenas de Guatemala, said the date did not represent an end of humanity but that the new cycle supposes changes in human consciousness. Martin Sicolxot, of the Office of the Procurador de los Derechos Humanos, Guatemala's Human Rights Ombudsman, PDH, said that the end of the calendar has nothing to do with the end of the world or the year 2012. Prior associations. The European association of the Maya with eschatology dates back to the time of Christopher Columbus, who was compiling a work called Libro de las Profecias during the voyage in 1502 when he first heard about the Maya on Guanaja, an island off the north coast of Honduras. Influenced by the writings of Bishop Pierre d'Ailly, Columbus believed that his discovery of most distant lands, and, by extension, the Maya themselves, was prophesied and would bring about the apocalypse. End times fears were widespread during the early years of the Spanish conquest as the result of popular astrological predictions in Europe of a second great flood for the year 1524. In the early 1900s, German scholar Ernst Forstemann interpreted the last page of the Dresden Codex as a representation of the end of the world in a cataclysmic flood. He made reference to the destruction of the world and an apocalypse, though he made no reference to the 13th Baktun or 2012, and it was not clear that he was referring to a future event. His ideas were repeated by archaeologist Sylvanus Morley, who directly paraphrased Forstemann and added his own embellishments, writing, "Finally, on the last page of the manuscript, is depicted the destruction of the world. Here, indeed, is portrayed with a graphic touch the final all-engulfing cataclysm in the form of a great flood." These comments were later repeated in Morley's book, The Ancient Maya, the first edition of which was published in 1946. Maya references to Baktun 13. It is not certain what significance the classic Maya gave to the 13th Baktun. Most classic Maya inscriptions are strictly historical and do not make any prophetic declarations. Two items in the Maya classical corpus, however, do mention the end of the 13th Baktun: Tortuguero Monument 6 and La Corona Hieroglyphic Stairway 12. Tortuguero. The Tortuguero site, which lies in southernmost Tabasco, Mexico, dates from the 7th century AD and consists of a series of inscriptions mostly in honor of the contemporary ruler Balama Jah. One inscription, known as Tortuguero Monument 6, is the only inscription known to refer to Bak-tun 13 in any detail. It has been partially defaced. Sven Gronemeyer and Barbara MacLeod have given this translation. Sutsjo mu I uslaju en pic. Chanaja ux uni w. Udo mil. Yen I/yen balanyacht. Ta chok joyage. It will be completed the 13th Bak-tun. It is for a ja 3k ankin. And it will happen a seeing. It is the display of Beolanyacht. In a great investiture. Very little is known about the god Beolanyacht. According to an article by Mayanists Marcus Eberl and Christian Prager in British Anthropological Reports, his name is composed of the elements 9, okte, the meaning of which is unknown, and God. Confusion in classical period inscriptions suggests that the name was already ancient and unfamiliar to contemporary scribes. He also appears in inscriptions from Palenque, Usumacinta, and Lamar as a god of war, conflict, and the underworld. In one stele he is portrayed with a rope tied around his neck, and in another with an incense bag, together signifying a sacrifice to end a cycle of years. Based on observations of modern Maya rituals, Gronemeyer and MacLeod claim that the stela refers to a celebration in which a person portraying Balanyacht Kea was wrapped in ceremonial garments and paraded around the site. They note that the association of Balanyacht Kea with Bak-tun 13 appears to be so important on this inscription that it supersedes more typical celebrations such as erection of stelae, scattering of incense and so forth. Furthermore, they assert that this event was indeed planned for 2012 and not the 7th century. Mayanist scholar Stephen Houston contests this view by arguing that future dates on Maya inscriptions were simply meant to draw parallels with contemporary events, and that the words on the stela describe a contemporary rather than a future scene. La Corona. In April-May 2012, a team of archaeologists unearthed a previously unknown inscription on a stairway at the La Corona site in Guatemala. The inscription, on what is known as Hieroglyphic Stairway 12, describes the establishment of a royal court in Calakmul in 635 AD, and compares the then recent completion of 13 K-Aidens with the future completion of the 13th Bak-tun. It contains no speculation or prophecy as to what the scribes believed would happen at that time. Dates beyond Bak-tun 13. Maya inscriptions occasionally mention predicted future events or commemorations that would occur on dates far beyond the completion of the 13th Bak-tun. Most of these are in the form of distance dates, long count dates together with an additional number, known as a distance number, which when added to them makes a future date. On the west panel at the Temple of Inscriptions in Palenque, a section of text projects forward to the 80th 52-year calendar round from the coronation of the ruler Kayanich Janab Pakal. Pakal's accession occurred on 9.9.2.4.8, equivalent to July 27, 615 AD in the proleptic Gregorian calendar. The inscription begins with Pakal's birth date of 9.8.9.13.0, March 24, 603 AD Gregorian, and then adds the distance number 10.11.10.5.8 to it, arriving at a date of October 21, 4772 AD, more than 4,000 years after Pakal's time. Another example is Stela 1 at Koba, which marks the date of creation as 13.13.13.13.13.13.13.13.13.13.13.0.0.0, or 19 units above the Bak-tun. According to Linda Skeely, These 13s represent the starting point of a huge odometer of time, with each acting as a 0 and resetting to 1 as the numbers increase. Thus this inscription anticipates the current universe lasting at least 2021 times 13 times 360 days, or roughly 2.687 times 1028 years, a time span equal to 2 quintillion times the age of the universe as determined by cosmologists. Others have suggested, however, that this date marks creation as having occurred after that time span. In 2012, researchers announced the discovery of a series of Maya astronomical tables in Sultan, Guatemala, which plot the movements of the Moon and other astronomical bodies over the course of 17 Bak tons. New Age beliefs. Many assertions about the year 2012 form part of Mayanism, a non-codified collection of New Age beliefs about ancient Maya wisdom and spirituality. The term is distinct from Mayanist, used to refer to an academic scholar of the Maya. Archaeoastronomer Anthony Avini says that while the idea of balancing the cosmos was prominent in ancient Maya literature, the 2012 phenomenon did not draw from those traditions. Instead, it was bound up with American concepts such as the New Age movement, millenarianism, and the belief in secret knowledge from distant times and places. Themes found in 2012 literature included suspicion towards mainstream Western culture, the idea of spiritual evolution, and the possibility of leading the world into the New Age by individual example or by a group's joint consciousness. The general intent of this literature was not to warn of impending doom but to foster countercultural sympathies and eventually socio-political and spiritual activism. Avini, who has studied New Age and search for extraterrestrial intelligence, SETI, communities, describes 2012 narratives as the product of a disconnected society, unable to find spiritual answers to life's big questions within ourselves. We turn outward to imagined entities that lie far off in space or time, entities that just might be in possession of superior knowledge. Origins. In 1975, the ending of Bak Ton 13 became the subject of speculation by several New Age authors, who asserted it would correspond with a global transformation of consciousness. In Mexico Mystique, the coming Sixth Age of Consciousness, Frank Waters tied Co's original date of December 24, 2011 to astrology and the prophecies of the Hopi, while both Jose Arguelles, in The Transformative Vision, and Terence McKenna, in The Invisible Landscape, discussed the significance of the year 2012 without mentioning a specific day. In 1983, with the publication of Robert J. Scherer's revised table of date correlations in the fourth edition of Morley's The Ancient Maya, each became convinced that December 21, 2012 had significant meaning. By 1987, the year in which he organized the Harmonic Convergence event, Arguelles was using the date December 21, 2012 in the Mayan factor, Path Beyond Technology. He claimed that on August 13, 3113 BC the Earth began a passage through a galactic synchronization beam that emanated from the center of our galaxy, that it would pass through this beam during a period of 5,200 tons, Maya cycles of 360 days each, and that this beam would result in total synchronization and galactic entrainment of individuals plugged into the Earth's electromagnetic battery by 13.0.0.0.0, December 21, 2012. He believed that the Maya aligned their calendar to correspond to this phenomenon. Anthony Avini has dismissed all of these ideas. In 2006, author Daniel Pinchbeck popularized New Age concepts about this date in his book 2012, The Return of Quetzalcoatl, linking Bak Ton 13 to beliefs in crop circles, alien abduction, and personal revelations based on the use of hallucinogenic drugs and mediumship. Pinchbeck claims to discern a growing realization that materialism and the rational, empirical worldview that comes with it has reached its expiration date, eerie on the verge of transitioning to a dispensation of consciousness that's more intuitive, mystical, and shamanic. Galactic alignment. There is no significant astronomical event tied to the long count's start date. However, its supposed end date was tied to astronomical phenomena by esoteric, fringe, and New Age literature that placed great significance on astrology, especially astrological interpretations associated with the phenomenon of axial precession. Chief among these ideas is the astrological concept of a galactic alignment. Precession. In the solar system, the planets and the Sun lie roughly within the same flat plane, known as the plane of the ecliptic. From our perspective on Earth, the ecliptic is the path taken by the Sun across the sky over the course of the year. The 12 constellations that line the ecliptic are known as the zodiacal constellations and, annually, the Sun passes through all of them in turn. Additionally, over time, the Sun's annual cycle appears to recede very slowly backward by 1 degree every 72 years, or by one constellation approximately every 2,160 years. This backward movement, called precession, is due to a slight wobble in the Earth's axis as it spins, and can be compared to the way a spinning top wobbles as it slows down. Over the course of 25,800 years, a period often called a great year, the Sun's path completes a full, 360-degree backward rotation through the zodiac. In Western astrological traditions, precession is measured from the March equinox, one of the two annual points at which the Sun is exactly halfway between its lowest and highest points in the sky. At the end of the 20th century and beginning of the 21st, the Sun's March equinox position was in the constellation Pisces, moving back into Aquarius. This signaled the end of one astrological age, the age of Pisces, and the beginning of another, the age of Aquarius. Similarly, the Sun's December solstice position, in the northern hemisphere, the lowest point on its annual path, in the southern hemisphere, the highest, was in the constellation of Sagittarius, one of two constellations in which the zodiac intersects with the Milky Way. Every year, on the December solstice, the Sun and the Milky Way appear, from the surface of the Earth, to come into alignment, and every year precession caused a slight shift in the Sun's position in the Milky Way. Given that the Milky Way is between 10 degrees and 20 degrees wide, it takes between 700 and 1,400 years for the Sun's December solstice position to precess through it. In 2012 it was about halfway through the Milky Way, crossing the galactic equator. In 2012, the Sun's December solstice fell on December 21. Mysticism. Mystical speculations about the precession of the equinoxes and the Sun's proximity to the center of the Milky Way appeared in Hamlet's Mill, 1969, by Giorgio de Santillana and Hertha von Deskend. These were quoted and expanded upon by Terence and Dennis McKenna in The Invisible Landscape, 1975. The significance of a future galactic alignment was noted in 1991 by astrologer Raymond Martix, who asserted that the winter solstice would align with the galactic plane in 1998/1999. He wrote that this event only occurs once each 26,000-year cycle and would be most definitely of utmost significance to the top-flight ancient astrologers. Astrologer Bruce Schofield noted, "The Milky Way crossing of the winter solstice is something that has been neglected by Western astrologers, with a few exceptions." Charles Jane made a very early reference to it, and in the 1970s Rob Hand mentioned it in his talks on precession but didn't elaborate on it. Ray Martix later made a point of it, and after that John Jenkins, myself, and Daniel Guy-Amario began to talk about it. Adherents to the idea, following a theory first proposed by Monroe Edmondson, alleged that the Maya based their calendar on observations of the Great Rift or Dark Rift, a band of dark dust clouds in the Milky Way, which, according to some scholars, the Maya called the Zibelbabi or Black Road. John Major Jenkins claims that the Maya were aware of where the ecliptic intersected the Black Road and gave this position in the sky a special significance in their cosmology. Jenkins said that precession would align the Sun precisely with the galactic equator at the 2012 winter solstice. Jenkins claimed that the classical Maya anticipated this conjunction and celebrated it as the harbinger of a profound spiritual transition for mankind. New Age proponents of the galactic alignment hypothesis argued that, just as astrology uses the positions of stars and planets to make claims of future events, the Maya plotted their calendars with the objective of preparing for significant world events. Jenkins attributed the insights of ancient Maya shamans about the galactic center to their use of psilocybin mushrooms, psychoactive toads, and other psychedelics. Jenkins also associated the Zibalbabi with a world tree, drawing on studies of contemporary, not ancient, Maya cosmology. Criticism. Astronomers such as David Morrison argue that the galactic equator is an entirely arbitrary line and can never be precisely drawn, because it is impossible to determine the Milky Way's exact boundaries, which vary depending on clarity of view. Jenkins claimed he drew his conclusions about the location of the galactic equator from observations taken at above 11,000 feet, 3,400 m, an altitude that gives a clearer image of the Milky Way than the Maya had access to. Furthermore, since the Sun is half a degree wide, its solstice position takes 36 years to precess its full width. Jenkins himself noted that even given his determined location for the line of the galactic equator, its most precise convergence with the center of the Sun already occurred in 1998, and so asserts that, rather than 2012, the galactic alignment instead focuses on a multi-year period centered in 1998. There is no clear evidence that the classic Maya were aware of precession. Some Maya scholars, such as Barbara MacLeod, Michael Grove, Eva Hunt, Gordon Brotherston, and Anthony Avini, have suggested that some Mayan holy dates were timed to precessional cycles, but scholarly opinion on the subject remains divided. There is also little evidence, archaeological or historical, that the Maya placed any importance on solstices or equinoxes. It is possible that only the earliest among Mesoamericans observed solstices, but this is also a disputed issue among Mayanists. There is also no evidence that the classic Maya attached any importance to the Milky Way, there is no glyph in their writing system to represent it, and no astronomical or chronological table tied to it. Time wave zero and the I Ching. Time wave zero is a numerological formula that purports to calculate the ebb and flow of novelty, defined as increase over time in the universe's interconnectedness, or organized complexity. Terence McKenna claimed that the universe has a teleological attractor at the end of time that increases interconnectedness. He believed this, which would eventually reach a singularity of infinite complexity in 2012, at which point anything and everything imaginable would occur simultaneously. He conceived this idea over several years in the early to mid-1970s whilst using psilocybin mushrooms and DMT. The scientific community considers novelty theory to be pseudoscience. McKenna expressed novelty in a computer program which produces a waveform known as time wave zero or the time wave. Based on McKenna's interpretation of the King Wen sequence of the I Ching, an ancient Chinese book on divination, the graph purports to show great periods of novelty corresponding with major shifts in humanity's biological and socio-cultural evolution. He believed that the events of any given time are resonantly related to the events of other times, and chose the atomic bombing of Hiroshima as the basis for calculating his end date of November 2012. When he later discovered this date's proximity to the end of the 13th Baktun of the Maya calendar, he revised his hypothesis so that the two dates matched. The 1975 first edition of The Invisible Landscape referred to 2012, but no specific day during the year, only twice. In the 1993 second edition, McKenna employed Scherer's date of December 21, 2012 throughout. Novelty theory has been criticized for rejecting countless ideas presumed as factual by the scientific community, depending solely on numerous controversial deductions that contradict empirical logic, and encompassing no suitable indication of truth, with the conclusion that novelty theory is a pseudoscience. Doomsday theories. The idea that the year 2012 presaged a world cataclysm, the end of the world, or the end of human civilization, became a subject of popular media speculation as the date of December 21, 2012 approached. This idea was promulgated by many pages on the Internet, particularly on YouTube. The Discovery Channel was criticized for its quasi-documentaries about the subject that sacrifice accuracy for entertainment. Other alignments. Some people interpreted the galactic alignment apocalyptically, claiming that its occurrence would somehow create a combined gravitational effect between the Sun and the supermassive black hole at the center of our galaxy, known as Sagittarius A*, creating havoc on Earth. Apart from the galactic alignment already having happened in 1998, the Sun's apparent path through the zodiac as seen from Earth did not take it near the true galactic center, but rather several degrees above it. Even were this not the case, Sagittarius A* is 30,000 light-years from Earth, it would have to have been more than 6 million times closer to cause any gravitational disruption to Earth's solar system. This reading of the alignment was included on the History Channel documentary Decoding the Past. John Major Jenkins complained that a science fiction writer co-authored the documentary, and he went on to characterize it as 45 minutes of unabashed doomsday hype and the worst kind of inane sensationalism. Some believers in a 2012 doomsday used the term galactic alignment to describe a different phenomenon proposed by some scientists to explain a pattern in mass extinctions supposedly observed in the fossil record. According to the Shiva hypothesis, mass extinctions are not random, but recur every 26 million years. To account for this, it was suggested that vertical oscillations made by the Sun on its 250-million-year orbit of the galactic center cause it to regularly pass through the galactic plane. When the Sun's orbit takes it outside the galactic plane which bisects the galactic disk, the influence of the galactic tide is weaker. However, when re-entering the galactic disk as it does every 20-25 million years, it comes under the influence of the far stronger disk tides, which, according to mathematical models, increase the flux of Oort cloud comets into the inner solar system by a factor of 4, thus leading to a massive increase in the likelihood of a devastating comet impact. However, this alignment takes place over tens of millions of years, and could never be timed to an exact date. Evidence shows that the Sun passed through the plane bisecting the galactic disk 3 million years ago and in 2012 was moving farther above it. A third suggested alignment was some sort of planetary conjunction occurring on December 21, 2012, however, there was no conjunction on that date. Multi-planet alignments did occur in both 2000 and 2010, each with no ill result for the Earth. Jupiter is the largest planet in the solar system, larger than all other planets combined. When Jupiter is near opposition, the difference in gravitational force that the Earth experiences is less than 1% of the force that the Earth feels daily from the Moon. Geomagnetic reversal. Another idea tied to 2012 involved a geomagnetic reversal, often incorrectly referred to as a pole shift by proponents, possibly triggered by a massive solar flare, that would release an energy equal to 100 billion atomic bombs. This belief was supposedly supported by observations that the Earth's magnetic field was weakening, which could precede a reversal of the north and south magnetic poles, and the arrival of the next solar maximum, which was expected sometime around 2012. Most scientific estimates, however, say that geomagnetic reversals take between 1,000 and 10,000 years to complete, and do not start on any particular date. Furthermore, the U.S. National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration predicted that the solar maximum would peak in late 2013 or 2014, and that it would be fairly weak, with a below-average number of sunspots. In any case, there was no scientific evidence linking a solar maximum to a geomagnetic reversal, which is driven by forces entirely within the Earth. Instead, a solar maximum would be mostly notable for its effects on satellite and cellular phone communications. David Morrison attributed the rise of the solar storm idea to physicist and science popularizer Michio Kaku, who claimed in an interview with Fox News that a solar peak in 2012 could be disastrous for orbiting satellites, and to NASA's headlining a 2006 web page as Solar Storm Warning, a term later repeated on several doomsday pages. Planet X/Nibiru. Some believers in a 2012 doomsday claimed that a planet called Planet X, or Nibiru, would collide with or pass by the Earth. This idea, which appeared in various forms since 1995, initially predicted doomsday in May 2003, but proponents abandoned that date after it passed without incident. The idea originated from claims of channeling alien beings and is widely ridiculed. Astronomers calculated that such an object so close to Earth would be visible to anyone looking up at the night sky. Other catastrophes. Author Graham Hancock, in his book Fingerprints of the Gods, interpreted Coe's remarks in Breaking the Maya Code as evidence for the prophecy of a global cataclysm. Filmmaker Roland Emmerich later credited the book with inspiring.
Please subscribe and thanks for watching.